The dazzling lights illuminated the set of The Great American Debate, where millions of viewers across America were glued to their screens, awaiting a historic showdown. Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary, sharp and fiercely loyal to the MAGA movement, was preparing to face off against Taylor Swift, a global music icon stepping into the political arena for the first time. Leavitt, in a deep blue suit, exuded confidence as a rising political star, ready to defend Donald Trump's values with intelligence and wit. Across from her, Swift wore an elegant white dress, carrying the influence of millions of fans. Known for her emotional speeches on women's rights and the environment, she now faced the daunting challenge of debating a seasoned political voice. The host, a veteran journalist, energized the crowd. Tonight was not just about policy. It was politics versus culture, conservative versus liberal. The audience roared, but tension was thick in the air. MAGA supporters expected Leavitt to teach the pop star a lesson, while Swift's fans believed she would overpower with emotion. As Swift flashed a determined smile and Leavitt jotted quick notes, the room braced for an explosive exchange. The stage lights dimmed, applause gradually fading. The host stepped forward, voice booming with practiced command, welcoming the audience to this landmark debate. The 4 hot topics were laid out: women's rights, misinformation, climate change, and audience questions. Cheers erupted, MAGA chants and Swift slogans clashing in a chorus of divided hopes. Social media exploded, posts swirled, "Taylor will inspire" and "Karoline will crush her." The host turned to Taylor. "Miss Swift, the first topic is women's rights. Your stance?" Swift, her white dress shimmering under the lights, stood with eyes brimming with resolve. Her voice was calm and steady, as though singing one of her emotional ballads. She spoke of women's rights not as a debate point but as the foundation of a just society. She recalled seeing young girls searching for role models and how restricting policies and demeaning rhetoric could crush their hope. She mentioned encouraging millions, especially young women, to vote and called for leaders who lift women up, not diminish them. As she raised her hand for emphasis, applause echoed through the venue. Phones lit up, recording every second. A girl in the front row held up a "Taylor for Equality" sign, eyes shining. Then it was Karoline Leavitt's turn. She stood, adjusting her mic with a poised smile. "Taylor, I truly admire your passion," she began, her voice both kind and cutting. "I love Fearless, great song, but I don't need a song to prove women's strength. I live it every day." The crowd laughed, MAGA supporters cheering loudly. Swift raised an eyebrow at the jab, not quite expecting the wit. Leavitt shifted into serious gear. She acknowledged the need for respect and equality but stressed that action, not slogans, was the way forward. At 27, she was the youngest white House press secretary ever, appointed by President Trump, a fact she emphasized as proof that the administration provided real opportunities for women. Under Trump, she pointed out, women's unemployment reached record lows before the pandemic. "That's how we empower women," she said, with results. The crowd clapped again, this time MAGA energy spiking. A man in a red hat shouted, "Karoline, awesome!" Swift, unfazed, quickly leaned into her mic for a rebuttal. "Karoline, I'm glad for your success, but one example doesn't speak for everyone," she said. She mentioned single mothers, young girls threatened by laws targeting their freedoms, and insisted leaders needed to fight for all women. Her voice was sincere, even emotional, but she didn't cite data, causing a stir among more analytical viewers. Leavitt picked up on that. "Taylor, I respect your heart, but heart doesn't solve inequality." She talked about how Trump's policies had increased vocational training for women, helping thousands of single mothers find work. On health care, she said drug prices were lowered, making treatment more accessible. Then she leaned in, slightly sarcastic. Do you have data proving the policies you support actually work? Or are you just going to write a song about it? Laughter erupted, even some neutral viewers chuckling. Swift blushed, momentarily caught off guard by the jab. The host returned to center stage, raising a hand. What an electrifying start. Now we dive deeper into women's rights. Miss Swift, you have 90 more seconds to make your case. The cheers returned, a sea of signs glowing beneath the lights. On social media, the moment was trending. One post read, "Taylor needs to bring fire to this round." Swift stepped forward again, dress sparkling. Her voice trembled slightly at first, then steadied. "Women's rights are at the heart of justice," she said. She spoke of traveling the world, meeting girls who dreamt of becoming doctors, artists, leaders, but were blocked by outdated laws and demeaning rhetoric. She cited a wage gap statistic, 82 cents to the dollar, and urged for protection of freedoms from health care to choice. "It's time for leaders who respect all women," she concluded. Her voice soared at the end like the final note of an anthem, drawing huge applause. A girl in the crowd shouted, "Taylor, we love you." Cameras caught tearful, inspired faces. The host turned to Leavitt again. Still calm, still smiling, she tapped her pen. Ready. "Taylor, I'm truly moved by your passion," she said. "And I love the man, but I don't need a music video to prove women are strong. I live it every day." Her voice sharpened, now commanding. She repeated her credentials, countering the idea that her story was exceptional. "It's proof," she said. "Proof this administration gives women opportunities." She addressed the wage gap, too, citing Bureau of Labor Statistics data, showing it had narrowed to its lowest point in 20 years under the Trump administration, due to a booming economy that created over 7 million jobs, more than half going to women. "Women's rights," she said, "aren't just about identity or inspiration. They're about economic power, and we delivered it. Just about choice. They're about good jobs, safe families, and a stable future." The audience applauded, some neutrals nodding, clearly impressed by Leavitt's use of data. Swift frowned, requesting a rebuttal. "Karoline, you talk about personal success," she said, "but millions of women don't have your opportunities. Conservative policies have cut funding for women's health care, making it harder for single mothers. I've met them, heard their stories. We need action to protect all women, not just those at the top." Swift's voice was emotional, but her response still lacked concrete data to challenge Leavitt's claims. Some audience members whispered, sensing she was leaning too much on sentiment. Leavitt smiled, stepping closer to the mic, her voice low, but sharp. "Taylor, I respect the stories you've heard, but stories don't pay bills. You talk about health care. Trump's administration lowered drug prices, helping millions of women access medical services at lower costs. You mentioned single mothers. We increased funding for vocational training, helping over 300,000 women find stable jobs through the Department of Labor. The liberal policies you support raise taxes and prices, burdening the very mothers you talk about. Women need real action, not vague promises." She raised her hand for emphasis, and the audience erupted, especially conservatives. A man shouted, "Karoline, she's done." Swift tried to counter, her voice rising. "Karoline, you talk about data, but data doesn't tell the whole story. Women feel disrespected when leaders call them insults. I want a future where my daughter doesn't have to hear that." But the buzzer cut her off. The host stepped in. "Time's up, Miss Swift. Miss Leavitt, final response?" Leavitt smiled, tilting her head slightly. "Taylor, I agree. Words matter, but actions matter more. Women like me, like millions out there, don't need leaders singing about feminism. We need leaders creating jobs, security, and opportunities. You want to write a song for your daughter. I want to write policies so my daughter has a real future." The audience exploded in applause, even some neutral members standing. Swift sat down, her eyes showing unease, smoothing her dress unconsciously. The host laughed, raising a hand. "What a thrilling first round. We'll move to misinformation after a 1-minute break." Cameras panned the audience. A group of young women held "Swift for Women" signs, but others whispered about Leavitt. A man in a MAGA hat gave a thumbs up, shouting, "Karoline, keep it up." Swift sipped water, pensive, clearly strategizing. Leavitt, by contrast, sat smiling, jotting quick notes. The first round belonged to her, and the audience knew it. Behind them, the large screen on the Great American Debate stage shifted to a viral tweet, setting the stage for the next topic. The audience buzzed, discussing the women's rights round. Some held phones, live streaming on X, where Karoline Leavitt v. Swift was trending, filled with comments like, "Karoline just crushed round 1," and "Taylor needs to bring fire." The host, bursting with energy, strode to the center and raised a hand like a gladiator. "Audience ready? Next topic, misinformation. Miss Swift, the stage is yours." The crowd roared. Lights shifted to a cool blue, amplifying the tension. Taylor. Swift stood, her white dress shimmering, her eyes sharper now. She took a deep breath and adjusted her mic, voice firm. "Misinformation is tearing our society apart. When leaders spread lies, from denying science to inciting division, they destroy trust. I've seen families argue over fake news, communities confused by false information about elections or health. As an influencer, I know the weight of words. I double-check before sharing, and I urge everyone, from stars to politicians, to do the same. We need truth to build a better future." She finished, her eyes scanning the crowd. Applause followed, especially from young fans waving "Swift for Truth" signs. A girl shouted, "Taylor, you're right." The host turned to Karoline Leavitt. "Miss Leavitt, your turn." Leavitt stood, her confident smile returning. She twirled her mic lightly, eyes gleaming. "Taylor, your passion is truly inspiring," she began, her voice gentle but cutting. "I love folklore, amazing album, but writing. A good story is easier than fact-checking, right?" Laughter echoed through the audience. MAGA supporters cheered. Swift frowned, clearly caught off guard by the jab. Leavitt took a step forward, lights following her movement. "Taylor says misinformation is a problem, and I agree. But fake news doesn't just come from leaders. It comes from all sides, including the liberal media you often support. A Stanford study shows fake news spreads because of emotion, not truth. And as a star with millions of followers, one wrong post from you could cause chaos. I have a question. Have you ever shared something you later had to correct?" She tilted her head, tone lightly sarcastic. The audience leaned in. Swift stood again, voice slightly rushed but composed. "Karoline, I'm very careful with what I share. I work with a team to verify information. But the bigger issue is when. Leaders like President Trump spread conspiracy theories about elections or science. Their words cause real harm." She emphasized her point but again lacked specific examples, leaving some audience members whispering for more detail. The camera zoomed in on Swift's face, slightly tense. Leavitt stepped up again, her voice low but steady. "Taylor, being careful is good, but it's not enough. You talk about conspiracy theories. Remember when you shared a post about environmental policy, then deleted it because it was wrong?" She offered the example with precision. "That post reached millions. Taylor, misinformation isn't just from leaders. It's from influencers like you. Trump's administration released economic and health data for people to judge themselves. Do you have evidence for your accusations?" She raised her hand as if daring a reply. Applause followed, MAGA supporters roaring. A man shouted, "Karoline, take her down." Swift blushed slightly, trying to push back. "Karoline, I admit I can make mistakes, but I always correct them. Leaders must be held to a higher standard, because their words shape the nation." But again, the buzzer sounded. The host stepped in. "Time's up. Miss Leavitt, final response?" Leavitt smiled, her voice calm but cutting. "Taylor, correcting mistakes is good, but preventing them is better. I'm here answering with truth and data. Want to fight fake news? Start by checking sources better, not just relying on emotion." Her eyes swept across the crowd as she finished. Applause thundered. On X, posts exploded. Karoline just turned. The tables, and Leavitt destroys Swift, began trending. The host raised a hand again, ready to introduce the next round. Laughing, round 2 was scorching. The moderator announced they'd move to climate change after a 1-minute break. Some audience members held Swift for truth signs, while others began cheering Leavitt. Swift sat, hands gripping her mic, eyes pensive. In contrast, Leavitt sipped water, smiling confidently, ready for the next round. The Great American Debate stage glowed as a short video of wildfires and floods played on the large screen, setting the tone for the next topic. The audience buzzed, whispering about Leavitt's dominance in the misinformation round. The host, brimming with energy, bounded to center stage, raising the mic like a rock star. "Round 3, climate change. Miss Swift, are you ready?" The crowd roared. Lights shifted to a warm gold, evoking the image of a warming planet. Taylor Swift stood, her white dress sparkling, eyes blazing with determination. After 2 intense rounds, she adjusted her mic, her voice steady and powerful, like performing a chart-topping hit. She spoke passionately about climate change, calling it the greatest crisis of our time. She recounted witnessing wildfires destroy communities, floods submerge homes, and children fearing for their futures. "This isn't theory, it's reality," she said. "We need to invest in clean energy, cut emissions, and protect the planet for the next generation." She criticized the current administration for denying science and prioritizing profits over people. Her voice rose like a moving chorus. The audience, especially the younger crowd, erupted in applause. A girl shouted, "Taylor, save the planet." The camera caught Swift's face, eyes full of passion. The host turned to Karoline Leavitt. "Miss Leavitt, your turn." Leavitt stood, her confident smile unwavering, like a fighter knowing. She had the upper hand. She twirled her mic lightly, eyes gleaming. "Taylor, we can't stay up all night dreaming of green energy and forget American workers, right?" She stepped to the center, lights following her stride. She acknowledged climate change was worth discussing, but argued that policies like the Green New Deal would cause more harm than good. Citing the American Energy Institute, she warned it could raise electricity prices by 30%, burdening middle-class families. She pointed out that the oil and gas industry, which Swift criticized, supported over 10 million jobs, referencing the Department of Labor. Leavitt praised the Trump administration for boosting domestic energy production, reducing foreign dependence, and stabilizing fuel prices. "We want a clean planet," she said, "but wrecking the economy isn't the way." The audience applauded, some neutrals nodding at her data-driven delivery. A man shouted, "Karoline, spot on." Swift quickly requested a rebuttal, her voice urgent. "Karoline, you talk about jobs, but we can't sacrifice the planet for short-term profits. Clean energy creates millions of new jobs. I've met scientists, young activists. They all say we're out of time." She emphasized the need to act, but some in the audience murmured, expecting her to counter Leavitt's figures directly. The camera caught Swift gripping the mic, her eyes showing the first signs of tension. Leavitt smiled, almost like she had anticipated this moment. She leaned into the mic, her voice low and sharp. "Taylor, I respect your heart, but heart doesn't pay bills. You talk about clean energy jobs. Per the Department of Labor, they often pay less than those in oil and gas. Did the scientists you met explain how to overhaul the economy without spiking prices, or did they just sing anti-hero to forget the problem?" The audience burst into laughter, even some Swift fans unable to hold back. Swift blushed, caught off guard. She tried to respond, her voice rising. Karoline, you can laugh, but this is a matter of survival. The planet is dying, and we need leaders who dare to act, not protect oil companies. Leavitt raised her hand, cutting in. Taylor, you say the planet's dying, but do you have data proving the Green New Deal will save it? According to the Environmental Protection Agency, Trump's administration reduced CO2 emissions while keeping the economy strong. We act by balancing the environment and jobs. Want to save the planet? Start by understanding American workers, who are losing jobs to the very policies you promote. The crowd roared. A woman shouted, Karoline, she's done. Swift sat down, her eyes distant, hands smoothing her dress, the weight of Leavitt's dominance settling in. The host intervened, cheerful. Round 3 was thrilling. Miss Leavitt, your final response. Leavitt smiled, her voice calm but sharp. Taylor, your albums sell millions, and I admire that. But politics isn't a stage. It needs truth, not just emotion. You want to save the planet? I want to save both the planet and the American people. The audience stood, applauding. Even some neutrals were swept up in the energy. On X, Leavitt destroys, Swift trended Merwan, with posts like Karoline just knocked her out and Taylor needs data, not just passion. The host laughed. Round 3 was epic. We'll move to audience questions after a 1-minute break. Again, divide. Some held Swift for truth signs, others began cheering, Leave it. Swift sipped water, eyes showing determination, but the pressure clear. Leavitt, meanwhile, sat back smiling, confident. This was the moment she truly destroyed Swift. The audience buzzed, still charged from the climate change round. The host rushed back to the stage, mic raised like a boxing announcer. Audience, we're at the final round. Questions from you. Miss Swift, Miss Leavitt, ready? The crowd roared. Lights shifted to fiery red, intensifying the fierce mood. The host held a stack of cards. Who's asking first? A young woman in a Swiftie shirt raised her hand. The host nodded. Miss Swift, I'm a fan. How can pop culture promote unity in politics? Swift smiled, visibly energized by the question. She stood, adjusted her mic, voice warm but resolute. Thank you for the great question. Pop culture, music, movies, connects people. I've seen millions from all walks of life sing my songs and share their stories. We can use art to spark dialogue, break barriers, and build unity. I want politics to learn from that. Listen, empathize, and move forward together. She raised her hand. The audience applauded, especially the youth holding Swift for unity signs. The camera caught her eyes, bright with hope. The host turned. Miss Leavitt, your response. Karoline Leavitt, in her deep blue suit, stood, her confident smile unwavering. She twirled her mic, eyes sharp. Taylor, I love how you connect. People through music. Her voice was gentle but edged. Reputation is a killer album, but unity can't just be a song. It doesn't pay bills or keep jobs. Real unity comes from policy, creating jobs, lowering prices, and ensuring security. Under Trump's administration, we created 7 million jobs pre-pandemic, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That helped families from all walks of life. That's real unity. Taylor, you want to write a song about unity. I want to write policies so Americans don't have to choose between food and fuel. Leavitt raised her hand, her voice firm. The audience applauded loudly, even some neutral viewers nodding along. A man shouted, Karoline, exactly. The host moved on to the next question, calling on a middle-aged man in a MAGA hat. Leavitt, how does the administration protect workers from liberal policies like the Green New Deal? Leavitt smiled like she'd just been handed a gift. Thank you for the great question. Trump's administration protects workers by prioritizing energy independence and cutting stifling regulations. The Green New Deal, which Ms. Swift supports, could raise electricity prices by 30%, per the American Energy Institute, burdening workers. We boosted oil and gas production, created over 10 million jobs, and kept fuel prices stable. That's how we protect Americans. The audience applauded again, MAGA supporters rising to their feet. The host turned to Swift. "Miss Swift, your response?" Swift stood, eyes tense but trying. "Karoline, I understand you want to protect jobs, but the Green New Deal creates millions of clean energy jobs. I've met young activists and they say we need to act for the planet." But her argument lacked data. The audience started to murmur, expecting more. Leavitt smiled, asking for a rebuttal. "Taylor, you talk about clean energy jobs, but per the Department of Labor, they pay less than oil and gas. You met activists, but do you have data proving the Green New Deal won't hurt workers?" The audience burst into laughter. Swift blushed, unsure how to answer. The host invited the final question from a young woman who didn't show any clear side. "What do both of you think about women's roles in politics?" Swift answered first, her voice emotional. "Women need to be heard, from the stage to the White House. I want young girls to see they can change the world." Leavitt followed, her voice unwavering. "Taylor, I agree. But women don't need a stage, they need action. I'm here, the youngest press secretary, proving women can lead with truth, not just emotion." The lights dimmed as the final round of the Great American Debate ended. The audience erupted in applause, the energy like that of a championship fight. On the large screen, hashtags started appearing. Leavitt v. Swift. Posts read, "Karoline just knocked out Taylor," and "Swift needs more practice." The host, still riding the moment, stepped to center stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, that was a historic debate. Thank you, Miss Swift, Miss Leavitt, and all of you." The crowd stood cheering. Lights scanned the audience. On one side, signs read "Swift for Unity." On the other, banners waved "Leavitt leads." The camera caught Swift clapping, her eyes pensive, smile strange. Karoline Leavitt stood tall, her confident smile radiant, raising a hand to the crowd like a victor. Backstage, Swift and Leavitt exchanged a brief handshake. Swift, still graceful, said softly, "You were very sharp, Karoline." Leavitt smiled. "Thanks for stepping up, Taylor. This was a big stage." But the air stayed tense, like two fighters, exiting the ring. Swift walked into her dressing room and sat down, scrolling her phone. An assistant showed her the trending posts. Her face tightened. One headline read, "Karoline Leavitt just schooled Taylor Swift in politics." Another, "Ashley, that destroys Swift." In another room, Leavitt received celebratory texts from Trump's team. She sipped water, smiled, and whispered to her assistant, "We did it." Within hours, the debate exploded across media. Major news outlets replayed highlights, Leavitt's jab about midnights, her data turnaround, her closing line, "Politics needs truth, not just emotion." Breitbart's headline read, "Leavitt obliterates Swift. MAGA has a new star." The article crowned Leavitt the queen of the debate, praising how she exposed Swift's inexperience using facts and sharp wit. Fox News brought in commentators. One noted, "Leavitt didn't just win. She redefined how conservative women communicate." MAGA supporters on X posted memes of Leavitt as a boxer knocking out Swift. A viral caption read, "Taylor writes hits, but Karoline lands political ones." Or Leavitt destroys Swift. Liberal outlets pushed back. CNN ran a piece titled "Taylor Swift. Bravely faces Leavitt but lacks experience," acknowledging Swift was outmatched on data but praising her passion and commitment to women's rights and the environment. Vogue called her a spark of inspiration, highlighting how she motivated youth to engage in politics. Swift's fans rallied with tailored fights back, sharing clips of her unity and truth moments. One post read, "Taylor may have lost the debate, but she won our hearts." But even some fans admitted she needed more preparation. A widely liked comment said, "Taylor, bring data next time." That night, Swift posted a long Instagram caption with a stage photo. Today was a big challenge. I stepped into the great American debate to speak for what I believe: women's rights, truth, and our planet. I may not have won every argument, but I learned a lot. Thank you, Karoline Leavitt, for a fierce debate. And thank you all for listening. We keep fighting. It got millions of likes. Fans flooded the comments with praise, but a few neutrals chimed in. You need data, not just emotion. Swift scrolled through them, thoughtful, as if already planning her comeback. The next day, Leavitt appeared at a White House press briefing, still confident in her blue suit. Asked about the debate, she smiled. Taylor Swift was a formidable opponent, and I respect her for stepping up. But politics needs truth, not just emotion. I'm here to defend Americans with data and action. When a reporter asked about a rematch, Leavitt laughed. If Taylor wants, I'm always ready. The clip went viral, locking in her image as a rising political star. Trump posted on Truth Social, Karoline Leavitt made MAGA proud. A huge win. Her team celebrated. An assistant whispered, she just made history. The debate wasn't just a one-time event. It became a cultural touchstone. Universities held panels on women in politics, using Leavitt and Swift as contrasting case studies. One professor summed it up. Leavitt represents logic and policy. Swift represents emotion and culture. Both inspire in their own way. On TikTok, clips of Leavitt's jabs went viral, while Swift's fans created heartfelt edits praising her courage. The media debate continued. Some called Breitbart's coverage biased, others said CNN went too soft on Swift. The Huntington Post captured it best in one line: a battle of emotion versus reason. And the impact didn't fade. It lingered, shaping conversations far beyond the stage. Though defeated, Swift's performance in the debate solidified her image as a courageous challenger of power. Both participants left a mark, but Leavitt emerged as the clear winner, earning the nickname Swift Destroyer online. This debate was more than just a war of words. It became a symbol of polarization and the potential for unity. Leavitt, with her sharp wit and humor, proved that conservative women can lead with logic and data. Her performance cemented her standing in the MAGA movement and turned her into a role model for politically engaged youth, with social media posts even calling her the White House's new fire. Despite not claiming victory, Swift inspired millions with her bravery and passion, reminding audiences that emotion and culture can also fuel change. Her Instagram post, in which she admitted defeat but encouraged continued advocacy, went viral. Fans flooded the comments with messages like, "Taylor, you're always our guide." This moment sparked a larger conversation. Can politics and pop culture coexist productively? Leavitt represented truth and decisive action. Swift embodied emotion and ideals. Both voices played a role in encouraging young people to engage in essential issues, from women's rights and misinformation to climate change. One post summed it up best. Leavitt won the debate, but Swift won hearts. Both are needed. The event even led to school workshops where students discussed women's leadership using both figures as case studies. Looking ahead, Leavitt may continue to rise within Trump's political circle, possibly taking on more significant roles. Meanwhile, Swift, with her reflective nature and determination, could return to the political space better equipped, combining both emotion and data in future efforts. The debate was a powerful reminder that truth and emotion, logic and passion, all play essential roles in shaping a better society. Leavitt and Swift, in their own ways, pushed people to listen, engage, and take action. So, which side are you on? More importantly, are you thinking, questioning, and speaking up? Because the future belongs to those who do. The viral headline, "Karoline Leavitt hilariously destroys Taylor Swift on live TV," reflects the deep political and cultural divides in today's America. This face-off at the Great American Debate spotlighted real issues, women's rights, misinformation, and climate change. Through the contrasting styles of its two participants, Leavitt used hard data on jobs and energy prices to make her points, while Swift appealed to shared values and emotional resonance, calling for equality and environmental action. The flood of hashtags like #GWashToLeavitt, TVE Swift, and split media coverage, Breitbart, praising Leavitt, CNN defending Swift, highlight how social media and journalism can amplify division. While Leavitt won on logic and humor, Swift captured hearts with her courage, proving both perspectives have value. The key takeaway: in a polarized world, meaningful dialogue comes from balancing reason with emotion. Americans should follow Leavitt's example by preparing with data and facts, like her stats on energy, while also embracing Swift's empathy. Her reflections on the need for role models among young women were especially poignant. Rather than letting social media or partisan news dictate our thinking, it's time to engage in real conversations, verify information, and search for common ground. Both Leavitt and Swift ultimately want the same thing: a better future. By blending truth with compassion, we can move past division and toward real solutions for issues like gender equality and environmental justice. And if this debate inspired you, stay tuned for more. Subscribe to the channel for upcoming debates, surprises, and a deeper dive into today's cultural flashpoints.